that was my intro. So we will
I got
switch
some
languages.
of that, yeah, and I've done a couple of Spanish streams here, which I generally start by saying "Hola" and "No hablo español." I can try doing the same in German, but
By all
probably best
means.
not to.
How would you say that?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I honestly wouldn't. Don't make me.
All right. So congratulations to your victory. I don't speak English anymore. I've been like speaking German for 6 hours or so. How are you feeling?
Well, I feel tired, but obviously a lot happier than before. And what I said during the final press conference is true. I like in Sklansky points, I should have been in a large minus here. I feel like I haven't really played well, apart from today and like bits and pieces in various games, like some moves yesterday, some moves against other people, but generally very dissatisfied with the quality of play. But 50% in this field is perfectly fine, obviously. More than fine, I guess, considering the form I'm in.
But why are you so critical of your play in this field? Doesn't mean people play badly against you? Or why can you play badly and still score 50%?
No, I think I got a few gifts. Yeah, I mean, I definitely should have lost to MVL, and I was in a lot of trouble out of the opening against Jan Nepomniachtchi. Those two games in particular, and against Hikaru in some point I was in trouble. But I think that game I did a reasonably good job of holding an unpleasant endgame. That game I don't like consider in my head as a loss, but against MVL I was more or less dead lost out of the opening because I couldn't remember the file that we invested a month of our life into before Moscow, and I still couldn't remember the first thing about it.
What opening
And
was that again? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
the D3A3 on
The C4 idea. Right.
yeah, and that's not on file, but I started missing move orders straight away and also did not really react well to the position where I needed to start thinking. So that was a dead lost position which MVL somehow didn't win. And also against Jan I did something incredibly weird in the 9D4 Spanish and was close to completely busted out of the opening, and then somehow survived grimly in some very unpleasant positions. And more importantly, until the game against Lev, I didn't really have a single game where I thought, okay, this is my shot to win a game in this tournament. Like I was basically defending with both colors pretty much in every round until rounds 8 and 9.
I'm trying to bring it up currently, but in the game against Lev, this position where you could go Queen G2, how much did you see
basically
there?
I mean, I was getting very excited there, and I was very happy about my position and in general with some of my decisions straight out of the opening, because I felt regardless of their objective worth, at least I'm trying for something, for something critical, for something that leads to double-edged play. And objectively, I probably should have been worse, but then Lev misplayed his position somewhat, and then he played bishop b5 after a very, very long thing. And I think at that point, the fact that, Lev up to that point was playing, I think, extremely well in this tournament, and I wasn't really playing well. And I started calculating queen d5, knight f2, and I couldn't make queen takes g2, e4 work at all. But also, I think some part of it was I sort of believed Lev wouldn't do it if it wasn't good. So I gave up a bit too early. It's also not an easy thing to find the entire line. Like Lev wasn't even planning to go e4. He was planning to go bishop f1, where white maybe even holds. Although had I seen that e4 after queen takes g2 doesn't work, I would have played queen takes g2, because then after bishop f1 I have a draw on demand and I can continue if I want.
Sure. So
but for me, the line
e4 castles business at all?
Yeah, before castles, bishop takes c6, and here you need to see rook takes c6 and g4.
Right.
And I just didn't see that idea. And when it was pointed out to me, it looks like the most obvious thing in the world, but really it isn't.
I was arguing that once you see the position after g4, you'll go for it, but to even think of rook takes c6 struck me.
Yeah, exactly. Like I got to bishop takes c6, and I thought, okay, here I play bishop g4, and the bishop probably goes back to it looks fantastic, and he has very discoordinated pieces, but it will take me a very, very long time to actually create a threat of any kind.
Right.
And honestly, like, it was a bit of a cop-out, because frankly you can just play this position, and the fact that I decided not to go for this, it's clear that black will have compensation, so maybe I should have just taken on g2 and thought, okay, gamble time, I'm on -1, who cares what happens to me, kind of thing. But I also, I had this idea that queen d6 is fine, which it actually isn't, for also computer-related reasons. And I thought, because I have an alternative, I should just play queen d6 and see what happens. And that was actually playing on my mind today, because today I had a number of decisions. Like, the decision to give up on knight f4 was made so painfully. Because after yesterday, I really didn't want to, let go another opportunity to sacrifice material. But
yeah, I had the feeling this would be tough to pass up.
No, but basically, like, when Fabi went bishop b4, I had an hour on my clock. And I spent, I think, 25 minutes of that time calculating more or less exclusively knight f4. I wasn't interested in anything else. And I didn't find one final move in a line, basically.
Which line is that? I got it on the board right now.
Bishop d2, knight e6, takes, rook e6. And king f7 wasn't worrying me. I worked that out correctly, I think. King d7 obviously loses, knight e7 loses very simply, so king f8. Mm-hmm. And here I have to take on b7, which I realized. You have this on the board?
Yep.
And in this position, for instance, there's this very, very beautiful line. If he goes knight a5 here, I go rook takes f6, gf6, bishop a3, check.
Hang on, knight a5?
Yeah, I mean, it's an ugly move, but it would be actually quite decent if not for this.
But knight bishop a5, a3, king g8, rook e8.
Even that, yeah. But what I was planning to do was rook f6, gf, bishop a3, kind of a version of the same idea. Also, gotcha. And instead of all this, I realized he can play rook b8 instead of knight a5. Uh-huh. And this is where I got stuck. Queen takes c6, rook takes b2. And if you give black a move here, he will play king f7. And why is he doing so badly? But I can play rook d6 in this position. Uh-huh. And this is the move I didn't find. Right. I basically stopped, as it often happens in these types of positions, you stop sort of one ply before the final decision you need to find. And if you see that decision, it immediately becomes obvious that you must go for it. But if you don't see rook d6, my rook on a1, because of this stupid bishop on d2, my rook on a1 is out of play. And he only really needs one move. He just needs to go king f7 in this position. And it will become extremely difficult to prove I have much.
Gotcha.
But after rook d6, yeah, it's like +2.5, it says.
After that, did you feel you were still better, or were you mainly annoyed that you...
I honestly thought, okay, I'm slightly better anyway, but I felt like, for karmic reasons, so to speak, if you don't play knight f4, you don't deserve to win. And I kind of did not really expect even to convert that position I got, because originally I thought I probably will have to take on d5 with the knight, and then it's probably impossible to convert with the opposite color bishops. But then I found this way of taking on d5 with the bishop, and that is slightly more difficult for him, of course, more than slightly.
I actually missed that completely. I said the guy's going to have to take on d5 and it's a draw, and after bishop d5, I was very confused it wasn't a draw. It's tough to spot.
I think objectively the position might still be defendable, but it becomes very, very unpleasant. Huh?
Do you think you should have taken on d5 anyway?
Maybe just kind of bite the bullet and take on d5, go something like rook a5 and just, say, do your worst. These types of positions are often holdable. But yeah, I think it's understandable from a human perspective to not want to trade this knight for a bishop to, retain hopes of transposing into something opposite colored related. But then he also allowed me to trade my knight for the bishop, and then it kind of went smoothly from there, because it's extremely difficult for black to play. The d-pawn just starts rolling and you have weaknesses, and it's very difficult to blockade everything, especially on 3 minutes.
I was shocked by his h5. I wasn't sure if you're
I
much
was
better after
expecting
bishop c5
there.
or bishop e5, but h5.
Yeah, bishop c5 I go a4, because I also have to spend the tempo on not allowing rook a3. And then some move like rook a7, go bishop d6, and I wasn't at all sure I will win even this. I thought it was an improvement over what I was getting in other lines in my head. But I was still completely unsure I will convert this. But once he gave me knight takes d4, I thought, okay, this I am now a favorite to win. And I didn't even screw it up in time travel.
What can we say? Congratulations. So overall, are you happy is probably the wrong word, but relieved?
Yeah, relieved would be a good way to describe it. Not my finest hour, but considering it's difficult for old people to play on 8 hours difference. Now that the tournament is over, I can mention it once. I wasn't really using it as an excuse during the tournament, but I think it's no surprise that for second year running, like my last 3 games are way better than my first 6 in terms of quality and also in terms of results.
Frankly, I'm always shocked by this. I understand it's a financial and logistical thing, but as far as I know, jet lag is worst after 5 days. And most of you guys go only 2 days before the event, right?
Yeah, but and I understand what you're saying, but in my case, apart from the financial reasoning, which actually is, it would impact my decision making there, because the organizers cannot really be expected to host me here for an additional week, and this is not the cheapest place on earth. But more than that, I've been away so much. Basically, I left on the 29th of May, and I got home on the 16th of July. And to then tell my family sleep patterns are important, which is why I'm going to be home for a week instead of 2. It's a decision maybe some people are capable of making. I'm not one of them.
If you ever need a bad cop to talk to your wife and kids, you know where to find me.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, congratulations on the final victory. Can you tell us a little bit on how you spent your free time during these events?
Yeah, it's a bit upsetting because I was keeping it sort of on the down low, but I've been doing some streaming of non-chess related activities, and it kind of finally made its way onto my, let's say, my official Twitter mentions, which I was very, very diligently trying to avoid for a very long time. So I came back and I found some follows which probably are resulting from that.
Do you want this to be out in the open? Do you want more followers,
No,
or do you
not
want people
really.
to do the work?
No. If it dies down and nobody really notices, I'm going to be very happy.
All right. What's next for you? You going back home?
Yeah, I'm going back home on Sunday, and we're all going to Tbilisi.
Right.
So there's about a 2 weeks time to readjust to European time zones, and then we're off to Tbilisi to play in the World Cup. And for many of the people here, there's also the Rapid and Blitz to look forward to, which is kind of regrettable that, I really like classical tournaments, and when they told me, they didn't really give me a choice, but they kind of told me that you're getting a wild card for the classical part, but not the Rapid part. At that point, I thought, yeah, fine, this is what I want, but then the news broke that Gary will be playing in the Rapid part, and I think I'm not alone in kind of regretting that I got this wild card and not the other one. because it would be very exciting to play against him after all these years.
I know we've talked about this before. How do you think is Gary gonna do?
I expect him to do well. I don't know how well. I'm pretty sure he's been doing some work, because this is a very strong field featuring some of the better short time control players in the world. So going in rusty and unprepared would be very stupid, and we all know he's not stupid. So I assume he's been playing some practice matches with somebody. I don't know who, but somebody. And if he is properly warmed up, I think, many things can happen. I think it's slightly more probable than he does badly than that he wins outright. But some kind of a median result where he finishes, I don't know, in plus or maybe even in the top 3 is quite possible.
Last question before we let you go. Magnus is just winning, right?
Well, I assume so. I haven't really looked, but let me just bring it up for a second. Has to be winning, yeah. He'll feel slightly let down because he also, his tournament is the very opposite of mine, I feel, in many respects, because he will feel that he missed a ton of opportunities, and he will probably end up missing the tie breaks by half a point, which will be... he's not going to be happy about that, I assume.
Probably not. Then again, he feels like he's back. He's played fantastic chess. He could have scored like 7.5 or something insane if he used all his chances. So I'm not sure how.
Yeah. No, he was dropping half a points like nobody's business. Yeah, he was. Winning against. Winning against Hikaru is you have to feel that Hikaru probably should not have allowed those chances, because originally I assumed this endgame was drawn. But then he got there, and very uncharacteristically for himself, he let go of a very clear-cut winning shot in an endgame, which he doesn't do very often. And also there are other things where he would feel that, yeah, I should have won those games. And of course, the full 1-point swing in a game against EL will prove actually decisive in the context of the tournament.
All right, thanks a lot, Peter Svidler. Don't stream too much. Have a good trip home. Enjoy your time. All that.
Yeah, all those things.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, cheers.